These are views of the Carlos Botelho State Park in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Watch this video for an excellent summary of what it takes to be a field primatologist. So, if career success for you means working with monkeys, how do you get there? Dr. Mauricio Talebi earned his degree as a veterinarian. Then he went to work with wild monkeys and developed an interest in animal behaviour. He spent 6 years living in the forest. He completed a master's in animal behaviour. He then went to the University of Cambridge for 7 years to do not only a PhD, but also a postdoctorate. He then returned to Brazil, to the Federal University of Sao Paulo, where he is a professor and primatologist. If you're learning English as a second language, this video will be useful because you will hear two accents, a British and a Brazilian one. And before we go any further, I would like to say thank you to my subscribers. Without you, there would be no channel. Working in field primatology and living the wildlife looks like this. Mauricio, what do you do?
I'm a primatologist. Got my degree originally as a veterinary doctor, and then I start working on monkeys. At the end of my my undergrad, right? Eventually, after my undergrad was finished, I moved to work for 6 years with wild monkeys, and then I got fascinated by animal behavior. Studying the behavior of animals is incredible, and then I got a clue that I should study them in nature and the nature settings. And then I spent 6 years living in a little tiny house, a very poetic, setup. Hard work though, like maybe one of the best times of my life. Like every day, wake up 4 in the morning, it's still dark, and spent full day at the forest. And then I finished my master's in animal behavior at University of São Paulo. And then after that, I started my PhD at the University of Cambridge in UK with Brazilian grants, where I lived for 7 years. And then after my PhD, I came back to my country to work with the monkeys into the site, because I always felt that we need to be locally involved. And then I got a position in the Federal University of São Paulo as, at the moment as an assistant professor, and now 16 years on, I'm a full professor at the moment. I started working with monkeys mainly interested in animal behavior and ecology and all the related steps and issues. But then I realized that the species I was and I am working on now still is a critically endangered species, meaning they will disappear from nature. They will go extinct in nature in less than 50 years. It was an imperative to work on conservation. I've been working a lot on acquiring lands for monkeys' habitat and empowering local communities. And eventually, the last 7-8 years too, we developed and we are running a highly successful enterprise into scientific ecotourism, meaning we need to show to people that are not scientists how incredible these monkeys are, and how they deserve our attention, and that everyone has a little bit of a responsibility to share information about these species.
Mauricio, in the state of Sao Paulo and indeed in eastern Brazil, what jobs are there
with monkeys?
There is, of course, the academic universe, people to think how science is the baseline for science development. Local guides for nature, brief nature walks, specialized nature walks for primate watching or bird watching, and and all related aspects. Journalists, cinematographers, photographers, social media people that today there are floods of them, influencers and so forth, that they are able to communicate to general public the importance of monkeys and biodiversity. And so I see as a new job, highly important to get people qualified to how spread out the message. We communicate the message, and people will spread out the message globally today. Why not? In 1 minute, a message we post today will be in the other side of the world.
Mauricio, you work with the Southern Muriqui, and you've worked on the longest running field study of the Southern Muriqui, is that right?
That's correct, John. I coordinate since 1994, meaning 30 years, the longest running field study in the Southern Muriquis. Because many studies, they start and work 1 year, stop 2 years. No, we've been 30 years on the go. It's the largest and best nature conditions for a habitat for Muriquis. We're talking about a World Heritage Site, 3 hours from São Paulo city. We work on the longest field study within the best forest fragment of Muriqui habitat, 3,000, almost 4,100 hectares. 3 hours from the largest city of South America, São Paulo, with the largest bodied side primate in the tropical sites. So lots of superlatives, lots of big stuff, and it is big according to how big these monkeys are. The largest non-human anthropoid. The Southern Muriquis are the largest tropical bodied size primate. You could say, if you wish, they are the gorillas of America.
Mauricio, what is the population?
It's less than 1,500. The site where we work, it's called Carlos Botelho State Park. I can send you details, written details later. Harbors is a protected area, is a stated protected area. Harbors half of the population of the species. Okay, we have like 1,500 monkeys of Southern Muriquis. We need to choose one place to focus. There is only money for one place. Which place is there? That's one way of seeing it. So we're working on the most important field site for the species.
Mauricio, for somebody wanting to work with Southern Muriquis, perhaps in the academic realm, do they need a master's degree, or is a bachelor's degree enough?
To work with the Southern Muriquis, you can get involved in different ways. Depends what are our intentions.
Mauricio, what would you like to see happen in Southern Muriqui conservation in the next 30 years?
We have this large group habituated to human beings. My first goal for this year is to generate more conditions for visitors to come to observe the Muriquis and to spread out the news. And the idea is everything we do is to generate money to pay field assistants and to generate conditions for livelihood. The second thing I want to do earlier than 30 years, though, is we need to acquire more lands for conservation to expand the Muriqui habitat. Private lands, Muriqui habitat being expanded, forest restoration, livelihood work, at the same point as enhancing Muriqui protection. Private corridors of habitat will be protected by local people. Community will be empowered to see the populations of Southern Muriqui growing.
Mauricio, for volunteers and undergraduate students who want to study primatology and who want to become Southern Muriqui conservationists, What skills do they usually lack, and how can they get those skills?
Curiosity. I think that's the first skill. And to have this inquiring mind, to want to work independently. If you don't have emotional intelligence, it's kind of difficult to go self-discipline, desire to do our small part for a better world.
Mauricio, how would you describe southern woolly spider monkey conservation today?
The work on Southern woolly spider monkey, John, has been going for about 35 years, and we got improved on expertise available nowadays. Along with this, in 2010, the federal agency called ICMBio finished, along with a team of experts, like all the specialists on Southern Muriquis and Northern Muriquis, the Muriqui National Action Plan, which gave us a guideline what is priority to be accomplished in a number of years. So with this, afterwards, some states, as São Paulo especially, got their own state action plans. So Southern Muriqui conservation activities today are much improved with both, as I spoke before, available expertise, more qualified people, and we know what to do through National Action Plan, what needs to be prioritarily done, and on top of that, we now have several agencies, state agencies especially, with the Southern Muriqui being priority to be investigated and, protected somehow in several public areas. Just to finish, also we saw a small number as yet of private reserves owned by private ownership, so putting Southern Muriquis as their priority for action. In summary, the conservation of Southern Muriqui is much improved than it used to be the last 30 years, and we are set for the future, for the next 20 years to come, to be able to tackle the main threats to extinction.
Mauricio, are there any captive breeding projects for southern woolly spider monkeys?
Excellent question. When you talk about conservation, captive breeding is essential for the strategies because by the concept of International Union for Nature Conservancy, IUCN, we need to have like a stock population in captivity in case of, some what we call stochastic factors. For example, disease. For example, humans, we've been exposed to COVID, and imagine we have just few populations remaining in the wild of Southern Muriquis. If comes a disease and kills all the populations, wild populations, we need to have a stock populations for, reintroduce them into nature. It still is a big problem because we only have two institutions, namely Sorocaba Zoo and Curitiba Zoo, which, manage less than 20, yes, 20 individuals ex situ. So, in summary, ex situ or captive breeding populations are small. The animals have difficulty for breeding, and that requires further research applied to which are the factors underlying reproduction into the captivity system. But yes, as a summary, see again, captive breeding populations are at the radar, are the focus for improvement, and that's very good news. The Sorocaba Zoo, which is just nearby Carlos Botelho State Park, here where we work, are the main reference for captive breeding of Southern Muriquis.
Are there any southern woolly spider monkeys held in biomedical facilities?
Hi, John. No, there are no Southern Muriquis held in biomedical facilities, and that's very likely based on the difficulties of keeping Southern Muriqui in captivity breeding facilities. There was never any study done on Southern Muriquis or Northern Muriquis as good models for biomedical research. In that sense, based on the problems of keeping these animals in captive breeding facilities, they don't look to be very good models exactly, because it's really difficult to keep them alive outside nature. So that this is the main reason, maybe one. And the second is there are so few animals left that probably is not costly effective to keep such an endangered, critically endangered species in captivity breeding facilities apart from zoos. This is one of the main discussions that if once we manage to keep them alive well in captive breeding facilities, they could be good models because biomedical research brings lots of financial resources into the species, but so far the answer unfortunately is not.
What conservation priorities for southern woolly spider monkeys would you like to see achieved in the next two generations of monkeys?
Excellent. We need to know which are the populations is one of the main priority still, especially those living outside protected areas. Which are the wild populations still extant? Second, how can we together act to protect those areas? And one very effective way would be to get a sort of consortium with enterprises like corporations, private donors, science, and so forth, to basically buy these areas, to purchase nature, and to establish reserves. Once we know which are those populations, both public and private areas, to have a full, complete account of the numbers still left in nature. On top of that, we need like the establishment of a sort of Muriqui trust in a way that financial funding, financial resources are available in a secure way. Because, it happens a lot, John. We are doing research, we are working hard, and then basically we only have funding for 1 year. That funding finishes, research is interrupted. So if you don't have established funding available for 5, 10 years, we are not able to give continuity to the work. And it's important to mention another thing I would like to see for the future generations of researchers is that several long-term studies available, a number of qualified students working with grants, everyone being well paid to work. One day of the war in Gaza would pay 50 years of research.
Where do our knowledge gaps lie regarding the conservation and ecology of the southern woolly spider monkey?
I see at least two main avenues for that. First, relates to the describing, identifying, and establishing population numbers and population locations. First, both public and private, not protected areas, and to understand which are the wild populations requirements, for example, for nutrition, especially nutritional requirements related to activity, growth, and reproduction, because that would auxiliate captivity breeding programs to effectively maintain these animals in captivity. We don't know exactly what they need for reproduction. The few populations remain in the wild, they must be highly inbred. Being highly inbred, they are not viable. Not being viable.
Mauricio, can you suggest a student project on the southern woolly spider monkey?
Oh, that's a great question, John. We have a full list of at least 50 projects available for undergrads and master students. We just need like people to be interested, and we need young students to be there and to find these animals, to count how many they are, to establish a sexual ratio, how many males and females in each subpopulation. Are those females breeding? Nutritional ecology. Which are the main food, which are the main nutrients these animals are consuming to the wild?
Are there any books on southern woolly spider monkeys or journals that new entrants should subscribe to keep up their reading?
Excellent, John. The National Action Plan. I think general textbooks in primate ecology, overall primate, also works. And I think a main resource available for students getting interested and excited by Southern Muriquis is to go into the IUCNRedList.org and find Southern Muriquis. And then there we have the full evaluation. When you look at the IUCNRedList.org Southern Muriquis, you see what you could do.
What conferences should new entrants into primatology be attending?
Fantastic, John. Conferences are the main way to get interested. The PSGB is one. The Scottish Primate Society also is excellent. And you can look for Durham University Primate Group. You can look for St. Andrews University. There is the Wild Minds Lab. If you go outside Britain, in Europe too, there is the European Federation of Primatology. We have the Brazilian Primate Society meetings. And every 2 years as well, we have the International Primate Society meeting.
Why do you do it? For personal satisfaction, for professional acclaim, for the money?
Fantastic, John. Do what you want, do what you like, and you don't need holidays or weekends to rest.
Mauricio, you are a primatologist in Brazil, in the state of Sao Paulo, working to conserve the southern woolly spider monkey. Thank you very much for being on the Practical Animal channel, Professor Mauricio Talebi.
With a big pleasure, John, I congratulate you in your work of, publicizing primatology and animals, wild animals around the world. And the last message I would like to leave is that, you see, it's in your hands. If we act together, all of us, all ages, like we need help to help the primates. Primates need your help. You guys, you girls that are listening to me, think about that. Yes, you can make a difference, and the primates need your help. And it's not too late. It's not too late. If you guys come to work with us around the world, primates will give a big thank to you and send to your grandchildren the opportunity of having a more beautiful world, a more beautiful nature. Thank you so much, John, and looking forward to meet you personally and to have all you guys here around in the Brazilian Atlantic Forest, São Paulo State. Thank you.